There we go. Much better. Yeah, I failed No Nut November pretty quickly, so I figured instead we would do No Shave November, as you guys clearly saw. Anyways, though, today, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to be doing is looking at the top 10 fastest killing weapons in Fortnite. Now, a lot of you guys out there probably assume that guns like shotguns and snipers are the highest damaging weapons and therefore are the fastest killing weapons, but that is actually, in fact, not true. In fact, there are a lot of weapons that kill much faster than the heavy sniper and even the new legendary pump. And today, we'll be breaking down the top 10. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and let's hop straight into it. Anyways, though, coming in at our number 10 spot, starting this list off, this is going to be the legendary heavy assault rifle. Now, this actually comes as a bit of a shock to me because I think a lot of people would expect this weapon to be pretty high on the list, but it's like, I mean, it's making the list, but it's obviously low. And this is a weapon that I hear a lot of people saying is ridiculously overpowered. It does 48 damage a shot. That's a 96 damage headshot, which is absolutely insane. But the thing that you have to understand with the legendary heavy assault rifle is obviously it shoots very slow. And because of this, even if you land every single shot on target, there are weapons that will kill you much faster. So how I'll actually be calculating things for this video is called DPS, which is damage per second. And basically what you do is you take the damage per an individual shot and multiply that by how many shots a gun can take per second. And in the case of the heavy assault rifle, it shoots 3.75 shots per second, which gives it a damage per second of 180 technically. Realistically, in 1 second, it will only fire out 3 shots because you obviously can't fire 3/4 of a bullet, but per second on average, that's how much damage it does. And that's actually a pretty high amount of damage when you consider a weapon like the pump, for example, has a damage per second of roughly 75. Weapons that shoot automatic and don't take a long time between shots often actually have a much higher damage per second than these guns. That is things like shotguns and snipers. Anyways, hopefully you understand what we're going for now with this video, and let's move on. So coming in at our number 9 spot, this actually may be a surprise as well. This is another assault rifle and it is the Silenced Scar. Now the Silenced Scar does 33 damage per shot, giving it a damage per second of 181.5. But what is actually really weird, and this may come as a surprise to a lot of you guys, is the blue assault rifle is going to tie with it. Because the basic blue M16 has the same fire rate and also does 33 damage per shot, it actually has the exact same damage per second. So technically, if two people were in a fight with each other landing each shot, they would actually kill each other at the exact same time. Obviously, though, in practice, the Silenced Assault Rifle is much more accurate and it is even more quiet, so it's clearly a better gun. You're gonna land more shots, but on paper, they actually do the same amount of damage per second. Okay, number 8 is another weird one. It's the Silenced Pistol. Actually, literally everything on this list is weird. Like the number 1 spot is just gonna be like, what the ball sack. But anyways, the number 8 spot is, again, the Silenced Pistol. The epic version of this weapon does 28 damage per shot, and that gives it actually a damage per second of 189, actually significantly higher than the last 3 guns we just looked at. And when I actually hear this, it makes a lot of sense because I hear so many people saying like, yo, I actually really like the Silenced Pistol, and I think a lot of people hate on it because it's kind of an inaccurate weapon. But obviously, if you are good with this weapon, you can take people down very quickly. It's hard for this weapon to be good in practice just because you got to pull the trigger down for every shot, and that kind of messes with your accuracy a little bit. And anyways, barely beating this weapon, coming in at a number 7 spot, this is the Epic 6-shooter. So this is a weapon that's been getting a lot of talk, I think, in the community recently because it's clearly a weapon that is, I don't want to say clearly, but I think there's a debate to be made for this being an overpowered weapon. So first of all, it is one of the fastest killing weapons in the game. It does 190 damage per second. 38 damage per shot is quite a bit for a weapon that when you hit fire it is automatic, but the thing that obviously makes it so crazy is not only can you do that, you can also use it for far range. And that is what makes this gun pretty overpowered. Obviously, the insanely high damage per second is pretty crazy, but if you actually did want to, in practice, kill someone at full shield, you would need to land all 6 shots. The gun will shoot 5 shots in a second, and then on that 6th shot, you will actually kill the person. So yeah, it's overall a pretty spicy weapon. Now coming in at our number 6 spot, ladies and gentlemen, this is old faithful, old classic, old reliable. Honestly, at this point, the gun that's hardly changed at all since the start of Fortnite. This is the legendary Scar. The legendary Scar has a damage of 36. It's pretty much been that way since the start. It did have a minor tweak early in Fortnite, and it does a damage per second of 198. So this is the last weapon on our list that doesn't kill in under a second. But obviously it is a very deadly weapon. Now, I'm sure there's one thing that people have been thinking about through this video, and I'll address it now, is I guess the question is, what about headshots? Well, obviously, I think there's a lot of people that are thinking, well, if you consider the heavy sniper, that's a weapon that if you land to the head, that does 375 damage pretty much instantly. The thing when you consider DPS though is once you start considering headshots, it makes things very weird because of different headshot multipliers. So it's a lot more realistic, and it's a lot more easy to just assume base body damage. And obviously when you do that, a gun like the heavy sniper does 150 damage, but if that person is at full shield, which is what the damage per second is based off of, then you have to reload for 4 seconds and then shoot that person again, which makes this it makes the heavy sniper a very slow shooting weapon. And that goes the exact same for a gun like the heavy shotgun. It does 1 shot a second, and that takes 3 shots to kill, so it's a very slow killing weapon. Anyways, hopefully that does make sense, because I know there's going to be some comments asking about like snipers and shotguns, although there is 1 shotgun on this list. Anyways, moving on to our number 5 spot. This is the legendary compact SMG. So this list is about to get a little bit funky, but first let's talk about the gold SMG. Obviously, SMGs are very high damage weapons. They're almost unanimously the highest damaging weapons. Almost. The gold compact SMG does 21 damage a shot and shoots 10 shots per second, giving it a damage per second of 210. So as far as this list goes, this is the first weapon that is actually a gun that can kill you in under a second. But moving on to our number 4 spot. Again, I told you this list was going to get weird. It's actually the minigun. Now the minigun is very weird because it's so inaccurate, and on paper it really isn't one of the fastest killing guns in the game. But given the right scenario where you do land every shot, it does come in 4th place. Again, this list is looking at the actual capability of weapons. So the legendary minigun does 8 damage a shot, and because of that, it has an insanely high damage per second of 228. Even the epic version does 218, which would still put it here, but obviously the gold does a little bit more. And actually, if you want to even look further as to how ridiculous this weapon is, you never have to reload it. And that's something that when you do consider over the long run will slow the fire rate and the damage per second of weapons down, especially, you know, like again with a sniper. But if this thing just has 300 shots, you shoot 300 shots. So really, like if you've got a team of 4, you can just like drill people down very quickly. And I think that does make sense because we've all been in a situation where you spawn into a map and someone basically like that, some noob, they get a minigun out of its chest, they're right there in front of you, and in like 3 seconds, you're dead. It's not always the most effective weapon, but when used right, it can absolutely shred. Anyway, so moving on to our number 3 spot, this is going to be the double barrel shotgun. So the double barrel shotgun is in a very weird situation when it comes to high damage weapons like shotguns and snipers, because it actually can do over 200 damage in a single clip. Other shotguns can as well, but they do it very slowly compared to the double barrel. And when you're actually in a situation where someone is directly in front of you and you just go bang bang and kill them, it is one of the fastest killing weapons in the game. To fire out both shots takes about 1.1 seconds, so when you actually kind of do the math and determine damage per second, you get roughly 228 damage per second. Because of the nature of it only being 2 shots, this is a really weird one, and technically in a second you would only get out 120 damage, but because the way you do this calculation, it does end up being 228. I don't want to confuse you guys too much, so I won't go deep into it, but obviously, you know, if you think about it in your head, yeah, the double barrel shotgun can kill you really fast, and in fact faster than every other weapon on this list. Actually, it would be exactly tied with the minigun, but that's it. Sorry, I don't want to confuse you guys with this video. Trust me, trust the numbers, look at the numbers, Mason, and let's move on. Coming in at our number 2 spot, this is what I was talking about. You're gonna really just not even believe me at this point. It is the blue SMG. You heard me right. Number 5, gold compact SMG. Number 3, blue SMG. Yeah, I don't really understand Epic Games, but let's look at this. So the blue SMG does 19 damage, whereas the compact does 21. The blue SMG has a fire rate of 12 per second, and the compact obviously only does 10. So when you do the math, you actually get a fire rate on the blue SMG of 228, which is 18 damage per second higher than the gold compact. Yeah, so a lot of you guys probably didn't know that, but if you're accurate with the blue SMG, if you're a strong player, it's better to use that weapon. And this is something that Ninja's actually talked about a little bit. He says he prefers the blue SMG, obviously because he's Ninja, but if you are a really strong player, you might want to consider keeping on to hold to that compact SMG when you're playing. Obviously, there is more than just damage per second to consider, things like clip size, things like accuracy, but actually on paper and in practice, if you do land all your shots, the blue SMG is better than the gold one. Anyways, before we do get to our number one spot, which is coming up, there is an honorable mention. It's the drum gun. It's vaulted, so I'm not going to actually include it on this list, but it had a stupid damage per second of 243. 27 damage per shot and 9 shots per second. Made this gun, as far as Fortnite history goes, it's still to this day the fastest killing weapon in the game. Well, it was anyways until Treyarch released this. Well, it was anyways until Treyarch. Well, it was anyways until Treyarch released this. This is the strongest weapon in Fortnite, the fastest killing weapon, faster than any other gun on our list. It shoots 6.6 shots per second and does 40 damage per shot, giving it a total damage per second of 226. 0.66666 repeating. Coming in at our number one spot, ladies and gentlemen, it's the turret. I know. Very disappointing. I don't like it either. It's stupid. It's kind of ridiculous. And it's the truth. Yeah, there's no weapon in Fortnite that can actually kill you faster than this gun. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I guess we can all go cry now. But before you leave, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and I will actually talk to you guys later. Peace. Now coming in at our number